Welcome to the Explainer. You know, when you open the New Testament, the very first thing you hit is this long, kind of dry list of names, a genealogy. Most of us, let's be honest, we just skip right over it. But what if I told you that list is actually a secret message, a code, hidden right there in plain sight?
So yeah, let's really think about that. What if this family tree was designed to be a secret message? Because that's exactly what's going on here. The genealogy that kicks off the Gospel of Matthew, it's not just a list, it's a puzzle. It's a really carefully crafted argument designed to prove one very specific thing to its original audience, that Jesus was the one they've been waiting for, the true heir to King David's throne.
Okay, so right away, Matthew does something, well, kind of weird. He takes this massive, sprawling family tree, all of Jewish history really, and he chops it up into three perfectly neat sets of 14. You've got 14 generations from Abraham to David, then another 14 from David to the Babylonian exile, and finally 14 from that exile all the way to Christ. Come on, that's too perfect. That can't be a coincidence, right? All right, so here's how we're going to crack this thing. We'll look at the puzzle itself, starting with the exile, then the quiet keepers of the family line, the idea of a legal heir, and finally, we'll get to the 14 code and what it means for a king's signature.
Okay, let's get into our first clue. Our investigation starts right after one of the most traumatic, most painful moments in all of Jewish history, the Babylonian exile. This is where that final set of 14 generations begins, and the very first names on that list are a huge clue.
So just to set the stage, you've got the fall of the kingdom, the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. I mean, it's a national catastrophe. But then there's this glimmer of hope, the return and the rebuilding. This whole period was seared into the memory of Matthew's audience, and he knew that. He deliberately starts his list with names that anchor his story right in this very real, very painful, but also hopeful turning point.
So who's the first name in this final section? It's King Jeconiah. This guy was on the throne for just 3 months before the Babylonians showed up. His surrender and capture, that is the beginning of the exile. By starting here, Matthew immediately grounds this list in a real, historical, and deeply traumatic event that everyone would have known.
And right after the exiled king comes his son, Salathiel. He was actually born in Babylon during the exile, so his whole life is a testament to that experience. He represents that generation that had to figure out how to keep their heritage, their faith, alive, while in a totally foreign land. He's a living link to the captivity.
And then you get Zerubbabel. This guy is a national hero. He's the one who leads the first wave of exiles back home to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple. So you see what Matthew's doing? He's not starting with random, obscure names. No way. He's anchoring his entire argument with these heavy-hitting, famous leaders who literally represent the fall, the survival, and the rebirth of the nation. All right, that brings us to clue number 2, and this is where things get really interesting, because right after those super famous historical figures, the list just goes completely quiet, for centuries. Suddenly we get this long string of names, Abiud, Eliakim, Azor, Sadoc, Achim, and you're probably thinking, who? And that's exactly the point. These guys appear almost nowhere else in any historical record. But from Matthew's argument, their obscurity, the fact that they're not famous, that is the clue. See, these men had a totally different job than the kings and governors before them. Their mission wasn't about public leadership or rebuilding temples. It was about something much quieter, but just as crucial. Faithfully, quietly, preserving one single family line. They were the unbroken chain, the quiet keepers of this royal promise, passing it down from father to son through centuries of obscurity.
And that brings us to the final link in the chain before we get to Jesus himself. This is our third clue, and it's a bit of a curveball. It all comes down to a tiny but incredibly deliberate change in the language Matthew uses.
You know, for this entire long list, Matthew has this rhythm going. It's like a drum beat. Salathiel begot Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel begot Abiud. On and on and on. But then when he gets to Joseph, the husband of Mary, bam, the pattern breaks. He deliberately changes the wording. The text does not say Joseph begat Jesus. It says Jacob begot Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus. It's a huge switch.
And Matthew is being so precise here. He's making a crucial point. Joseph's role isn't biological, it's legal. And in that culture, for inheritance and for royal claims, that was everything.
By taking Jesus as his son, Joseph, this direct descendant of David, legally grafts Jesus into the royal family. He makes him the legitimate rightful heir to the throne.
Okay, so let's recap. We've got our clues, the big historical anchors, the quiet keepers of the flame, and that crucial final link of legal fatherhood. We have everything we need. Now we can finally crack the code of that mysterious number 14.
So there's this ancient Hebrew practice called gematria, where letters also stand for numbers. It's like a code. Well, think about the name of Israel's greatest king, David. In Hebrew, it's spelled with 3 letters, Dalet, Vav, and another Dalet. Now here's the cool part. The numerical value for Dalet is 4. The value for Vav is 6. So what do you get when you add them up? You get 4 plus 6 plus 4, which equals 14.
There it is. The number 14 isn't random at all. It's not just a number. It's a code. For a name, it's the numerical signature of King David himself.
Okay, let's put it all together now. What does this secret code really tell us? I mean, why would Matthew go to all this trouble?
By structuring the entire history of his people into 3 sets of 14, Matthew is basically taking a giant stamp with the name David on it and stamping it across history once, twice, 3 times. He's not just counting generations, he's shouting, without saying a word, that this story is all about David, and that Jesus is the ultimate son of David, the king everyone had been waiting for.
So what's the goal here? Well, it's working on a few levels at once. First and foremost, it's a theological argument, a royal claim. It's also a brilliant memory aid, especially for a culture that passed stories down orally. But there might be another layer too. You know how the number 7 often represents perfection or completion in the Bible? Well, what's 14? It's double 7. It's like Matthew signaling that this isn't just another generation. It's the ultimate moment of divine completion. It's finally here.
So that list of names that looks so boring, it's anything but. It's actually a brilliant, masterful piece of writing. It's a proof, an argument designed from the ground up to prove to its first readers that this man, Jesus, wasn't just another person. He was the fulfillment of their entire history and all of God's promises.
And really, it's just such a powerful reminder, isn't it, that sometimes the deepest, most intricate messages are hidden right there in plain sight. They're in the parts of a text we're most likely to skim over, the parts we think are boring or that we already know. It just goes to show you it's always worth looking a little closer.
Which, of course, leaves us with one last question to chew on. If a simple family tree, a list of names, can hold this much meaning, what other hidden codes, what other intricate messages are just sitting there, waiting to be found in texts we think we know by heart? What else is out there if we just learn how to look?